All right, ladies, if you grew up thinking sex starts with kissing and ends with penetration, you've been robbed. Today, we're breaking down the myth that P in V is the main event and showing some serious love to everything that happens around it.
Because let's get real, some of the best sex of our lives has nothing to do with penetration at all.
And for most women, this conversation is long overdue. As we age, our hormones shift, comfort changes, and our expectations evolve. So let's talk about what intimacy really looks like. Welcome to Not Safe for Brunch. In this podcast, we're here to bring sex, insight, and real-world education to the table unapologetically. Think about it as having those important, unfiltered brunch conversations with your closest friends about sex, relationships, and everything in between. With over 55 years of experience combined in the intimacy industry, helping individuals and couples focus on breaking down barriers, reducing shame, and empowering people to embrace their desires and relationships with confidence. Hi, I'm Coralie. I live in the Vancouver area. I'm a married mom of two, half empty nesting, one in, one out. And my secret power is I love a good rabbit hole. I love digging deep and finding the truth or the root cause of a situation.
And I'm Amber. I live in Ontario. I'm married. I'm a mom and a GMA. And an unapologetic quality of mine is I weed through the fluff and I get to the point.
I love it. I am Vicki. I'm in Manitoba. I'm divorced and I'm re-entering the relationship space. I am a mom to two grown-ups, and my magic is making meaningful connections and relationshiping, which of course creates trust.
I'm excited about this topic only because it just enhances foreplay. And you don't even have to end with the main event.
And wait a minute, who's to say that the main event even is the thing, right? I don't know. I feel like if everyone's satisfied at the end, you've experienced the main event.
Right. No matter how you ended it.
Totally.
So why does this topic really matter anyway? There is cultural pressure that centers around that penetration in sex, right? And there's also what we call as an orgasm gap. And P and V doesn't necessarily work for most women to reach orgasm. So just that penetration alone, generally most women aren't actually climaxing from penetration alone. So this whole idea of outer course that we're going to talk about today is a big deal.
Totally. I always laugh when I hear about that because I think, penetration is not our finishing move.
Right? So outer course is a way to reconnect when desire and libido maybe feel a little bit off, right? And a lot of us I'll go through that in our long-term relationships, especially. And we've just been told that foreplay is the lead up to that main event. But we all know that we can climax without it as women and men. You don't need the penetration to orgasm.
Totally. And it's often way more intimate when it's not just penetration. It's closeness, it's conversation, it's really paying attention to each other's body and how we're responding to touch. It's the good stuff.
So I would love to know, ladies, what's one thing you were taught or assumed about sex that looking back now just makes you be like, what the hell? And if you're listening, please share.
Yeah, we want to know. For me, I think it was autonomy, knowing that I could ask for what I wanted, knowing that it was about me, but that I had more choice than I think I realized. And especially coming into my 50s, being single, I'm never settling for shitty sex again. And I know the difference now. Right? I refuse to accept anything less than what I desire. And for anybody who wants to come at me, I also refuse to accept anything less than what my partner desires, as long as that is consensual.
I thought there was blowing in blowjobs.
Right.
That's what I assumed.
I love it.
When I was growing up. I remember wait, you don't go like that. I don't. Anyways, that was a mind blower. But also too, growing up, and I've talked about this before, just being raised with kind of mixed messages about sex. The one thing that I felt growing up was that there was a lot of shame around sex. And then as I became, it wasn't even like a full adult. It was even like my teen years when you start really doing like critical thinking. And I realized everyone does it. Why is there shame around it? And I think that shame was mostly because of, in my case, a lot of mixed messages. So if you are divorced and raising kids, get on the same page, or at least have conversations about the other page so that your child gets the full picture.
Yeah. And I agree. I think that even if we're not just talking about divorced families where two sides are coming from a different page, we're talking about friendships, we're talking about potential partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, etc. We're talking about teachers, we're talking about so many messages that kids in general and young adults are receiving, that I'm really proud of this generation. The kids growing up in their 20s right now, and they make me so excited because they are really taking it on. They are doing what works for them. They are shaking off that shame, and they're just moving forward with how and what they feel works best for them. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about what exactly is Outercourse. I know that that's kind of an unknown term, maybe. So it's basically non-penetrative sexual activities, touch, massage, oral, mutual masturbation, toys, fantasy, etc. Not P in V. That is Outercourse. And of course, some of the benefits of Outercourse are going to be that there's a bit of a slower build up. It's more intimate, as I said. There's a deeper connection. There's a lot less pressure around it, right? When I remember being younger, talking about being younger, I remember, the penis goes inside the vagina and then all of a sudden orgasm happens. Well, I was so disappointed when it wasn't magical like that. Where's my orgasm? Right? And I think that a lot of young men also grow up thinking that they have this magic tool when they don't realize that it's actually on their hands and maybe on their mouth, but not actually in their pants, right? So I think that's sort of a fallacy that they run with, and it's unfortunate because they desire the education too. Like I said, I think it feels more intimate emotionally, especially during and after. Of course, we know you want to have a sex decompress. What do you like? What do you not like? What was good? What wasn't good? What do we do next time?
Right? I mean, I've always heard the term like, you don't want to I would love to go back to my 20s knowing what I know now. But in reality, I had so much fun in my 20s, I probably didn't want to know what I know now. But I kind of want that with sex. Right? Just give it to me in certain aspects.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh man, if I could go back.
Right? Like, I mean, don't we wish that there was like a Cole's Notes? Like, if I could have just gotten the Cole's Notes version, I would have been so much better off. But you know what? We fail forward. So,
Yeah. They should have people in their senior years coming and giving the real sex ed talks when we're in school.
yeah, totally. Yes. So, have you guys ever had like a time where you had like the best sex ever, but it involved no penetration at all? Why do you think it stuck with you?
I mean, I have, especially like I've shared my journey over the last 6 months here. And so that's mostly what we were dealing with because I wasn't comfortable, he wasn't comfortable. But I think that the other ways that you can have sex, like without actual penetration, are a hell of a lot more intimate than the actual physical act of like the penetration, because you don't really go there with as many people. I would think, I mean, I don't know, I've been the same person for 30 years, but I just imagine, like, I know it took us a long time to get to that point before, that was happening. P and V was first, and then you get more of that, like, deep connection stuff, right? It's not usually the opening act.
I was lucky when I was younger. I just met somebody that, damn, the foreplay. Like, we didn't even have to have sex. Like, it was that good. So
Somebody
I did.
send Amber the crown. Woo!
It was fabulous, but then I had to teach future partners.
Yes.
I'm like, listen,
Yeah,
this
right.
needs to happen.
Well, and I think that that's natural, right? And I think that, again, coming into my 50s, being single, going, wait a minute, I get to redefine what sex, intimacy, what does that look like for me? And then I just went forth with, this is what I want, what I need, how I need it. I'm going to show you, I'm going to guide you, and I expect you as a partner to do the same for me because I don't want to be left in the dark either. You tell me how you like to be touched. You tell me what feels good. You want me to try it? You got it. Right? Like,
Well, and I think now people are like listening, going, "Shit, I need to get divorced to have good sex." And I don't
no,
think that's the case.
no,
I
you need to have a communicative partner, someone who's
yeah,
willing to grow with you. I just didn't have that, so that's okay.
Just make a date night, listen, watch us on the big screen. It'll be a great discussion after.
yeah. Pause. Be like, "What do you think of talking about this?" You know.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah, onwards and upwards. Like I said, just keep evolving inside the relationship that you're in, and that is sexy. That is
Oh yeah.
super hot when you can be with a partner for 20 odd years like you ladies have and go, yeah, I need an adjustment, a modification, a tweak, and my partner's showing up for that.
Mhm.
Boom. That's exciting to me.
Well, and I think that's important too for like any long-term relationship, that because you change your sexual needs, desires, your world opens up because you hear about other things, and that acceptance and responsiveness on both sides
Yeah.
is key to long-term care. So let's talk about why women in midlife should embrace outer course. First of all, we're dealing with a whole lot of other issues when we get to this stage in life. We have vaginal dryness, we have pelvic floor changes, and all that discomfort that we deal with as we go into perimenopause and menopause can make P and V feel stressful or uncomfortable. When you engage in different activities rather than just going for P and V, you're going to get more creativity, more connection. You're going to find other ways that you can really enjoy yourself and be able to relax more, because when you are expecting to have some sort of discomfort or pain, it stresses you out and it tightens up your muscles and it makes it harder to relax and enjoy the moment, right? So really important. I mean, we're midlife. We should be doing this if we weren't doing it already. It is time, prioritize our pleasure first. Like Vicki said, she's like, I'm not settling anymore. And that's going to help reduce the orgasm gap, which is, like we've talked about before, the gap between the amount of time that it takes someone with a vagina and someone with a penis to climax. So get it closer together.
And there's just so many ways, right, Coralie? Like that's what you're talking about. You're talking about all of these ways to be intimate so that we can shorten that orgasm gap so that we can kind of get to that place where it's a slightly more level playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it can be really hard to, especially for us as women, to fully embrace this, because I feel like we have been raised in society. I always go back to society
Yeah. True,
where
though.
the man's pleasure is most important, right? And his pleasure is most important. Yours is kind of secondary. But what I found, I mean, in my own marriage and talking to a lot of, very happily content couples, is that the woman's pleasure is a huge turn on for the man, right? So if we could just relax, let go, and embrace our pleasure, it's going to turn him on more too if you are in a hetero relationship. So it all just comes back, you got to calm down, just let go, be you. Like if you can't be you at this stage in life, more therapy, more therapy. But yeah, so I think that stops women from fully embracing all this stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of probably all of those things, but I think it's that fear of rejection or that fear of being judged. So I think that bringing something new into the bedroom isn't just I'm not so sure if we can navigate this together. I'm not so It's literally, what is my partner going to think? Is this going to be a deal breaker? Does this end my relationship? Does this make my relationship better? I honestly believe that women just don't know how to broach the topic. And even with the verbiage, they're more nervous because they're unsure if their partner's going to be open to a tweak, That's my belief in my experience. And I think that women just need to decide that their pleasure is paramount and that they can ask for what they want. And I think that we have to be more willing to ask for what we want to receive. And I think that we would get it more often too. I think that's a story we're telling ourselves, is that they're not going to be receptive to it. I think that's bullshit. But I think that the fear itself is what stands in front, because we don't know, is this going to be a deal breaker? Is he going to walk away? How's that going to make me feel? I'll feel really judged. And then we go into all the 10,000 things that sit on our shoulders every other day about how we're not enough. And I just feel like we need to just be honest, because I think that our partners are far more receptive than we believe they are.
Well, and I think this came up in another podcast episode. I might have been Coralie's example, where one partner, I want to try a toy, and I've been thinking about it, and the other partner's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this for years," and they just didn't talk.
Right.
And I think that's the main barrier here is partners, couples, they're not communicating enough. So
Mhm.
like Vicky's decompress after sex outside of the bedroom, I think is the main thing before you even hop into it is talking about it outside of the bedroom. And if you're like, oh, I don't know if I can look at them, did I go back to back, drive in the car, like whatever, bring it up somewhere that's a neutral kind of area where you're not already thinking about having sex or in the moment, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's really easy too, like if you're just in the middle of doing something, maybe you're cooking dinner or whatever, like it's just easy to kind of go, "Hey, have you ever seen da 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 or have you ever thought about doing ABC?" If you're in the middle of stuff, it just makes it a little simpler to have sort of a breezy conversation, if you will, about something new and different. And then you can, you know, deepen that conversation. There can be more depth to that as you sit down and go, yeah, let's try that. Right. That's exciting for you guys who are in like long-term relationships, because when you're in a newer relationship, we're just going, we see each other once every 2 weeks. Let's just do the thing. It's like, yeah, let's just like, come on, let's go. But at the end of the day, I feel like, as you grow in that relationship and as you grow in your relationships, as you guys have, it's something that's kind of exciting to know that you have a partner who's insightful, who's interested, who wants to hear what you have to say, and knows that they can also ask you for things. That's fucking hot. Sorry.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
I
the answer doesn't always have to be yes,
no.
Right. Just a
right? And
discussion.
you guys got to be okay with that.
Mhm.
Maybe approach it that way at first.
Yeah.
I was thinking about something. You don't have to say yes. However, and then start with kind of what you were thinking of maybe trying or what that looks like.
I love that. Thank you so much for saying that, Amber, because I think that just because it's on the table doesn't mean we have to ingest it, right?
Mhm.
Thank you. I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, I like too that you said that, because a conversation I recently had with one of my clients is she was saying that she feels like her husband gets on the defense. Like when she suggests something to him, he's always just woo woo, but he's not actually defensive. That's just kind of how he reacts, and she takes it that way. So my suggestion to them was like, have sort of like a safe word first, before the convo. Like, hey, I want to talk to you about something, but I want to make sure you're in the right zone. And oftentimes she said her husband isn't even defensive. He's just kind of shocked, but she's taking it that way, and it makes it harder to approach it again. So find some way to have that conversation. I love that, like kind of doing it in between, because sometimes it's even too just about reducing that sensation. And if you feel like you suggest something and your partner is always like, woo, that's a conversation to have too, so that you can learn how to approach it together better.
Yeah. And I mean, what do they say? Like every argument is a product of a miscommunication, right?
Mhm.
So it's just simply that you may be receiving that message incorrectly or in a different way than was intended. And it has to be an open
Yeah.
conversation. I like that. Are you in a place to have a conversation about our relationship? Are you in a place to have a conversation about, something that I'm
Mhm.
kind of interested in? I love that.
Yeah, and I would say just phrase it in a way where it's obvious that it's a positive, because you could have someone that's like, "Oh shit, what
Yeah.
did I do?" They're gonna start thinking back.
Yeah. I love that. We need to talk. And then there's me. Okay, let's do it. But you say that to a man and they're like, fuck.
Another point too that I wanted to bring up about this is that something that really just put more emphasis on the different ways to have this type of sex is in all of the classes and books. Like we've all attended and heard so much stuff. And when I first heard about someone who was paralyzed, still having orgasms, I was like, wow, that's like so incredibly lucky. Like, totally. It's actually quite common. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but some people can, whether they've been paralyzed or they've had some sort of nerve damage so that things don't work the way they used to. And the bodies can adapt, right? So if these couples and if these people can figure out a way to make it work, I think there's hope for a lot of us, because medical stuff is really hard to work around. And especially if sex is really important to you, and it might be getting you in the totally like a crappy mindset about it all. So I don't know. That just made me think why do we have this vision of what sex is when
Well,
obviously
totally.
it can be 50 million ways and
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
are
And
still
if
doing
you're with a partner and you're not willing to course correct, then you've got a problem, right? Like
that. Mhm,
we have to be willing to make those course corrections because today we're healthy, maybe, right?
mhm,
Tomorrow we could not be. And as you've experienced, Coralie, we just like you said, you've been loud about your journey about this. You didn't see this coming. It was an overnight change
mhm,
that was a massive change for the last year of your life, 6 months, 8 months.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that was a big deal. And I think that needs to be prevalent in the conversation when it comes to a long-term relationship where you're like, yeah, like what does this look like if I'm not 100%? What if you're not
mhm,
100%? What if you hurt yourself? What does it mean? How do we
mhm.
navigate it? Talk
Yeah.
to me.
One good thing though is there are so many great products out there now if people are struggling, if it's like disability related, um, whether it's foreplay or when you're actually going for P&V, but like the Liberator stuff, they have things designed for so many different body types and ways that it can work with different disabilities. So, I mean, we're in 2025 and it's a good time to be alive, you guys.
It sure is.
All right, let's drop some tips for our listeners for, a little bit of fun outer course, but you want to give yourself permission to slow down, enjoy the build up. Your pleasure is not a race. And that's the whole point, right? A lot of times we're like so focused on penetration, we're like, "Hey, we're going to do this and we're having fun, but okay, let's go." You know? And I think that if you just take penetration off the table, holy crap, you're going to have some incredible experiences. So maybe, penetrations on Wednesday night and Tuesday, Thursday, you're just outer course.
Yeah. Make a game of it, right? How long can we hold out before
Yeah.
penetration occurs?
That's Vicky's favorite game. And I love it. I think we could make that into a board game of some sort. And there's our retirement, you guys.
There you
That's right.
go.
Not safe for brunch. Commercial sex only. Oh my gosh, you're so funny. I love it. Something else you want to do is, of course, not to underestimate touch. Skin to skin connection is so incredibly powerful, even without the main event. It can be, I don't even like that without the main event. It can be the main event. Skin to
Yeah.
skin connection without penetration can be the main event.
Yeah. I actually kind of think, when we talk about it as the main event, I think it's like the after party.
Oh, that's so much better.
It's the private show, the private club you get invited to if you're cool.
I love that. Get me an invite. I'd like a
Uh,
VIP.
My tip is to learn how to make yourself orgasm because you have to explore your body. If you don't know how to do it, if you don't know where your special spots are and how to make it go really fast, how do you expect anyone else to? So you have to be the master of your own domain. Explore. The better you know, the more you can communicate.
I love it. Heck,
Mhm.
explore together by yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
lay beside each other and show each other what you like.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes,
a great form of outer course.
just
Mm-hmm.
gonna tell you that. I was just gonna say that. I was like, can you just like watch each other? Take turns. Be like, you
Yeah.
go, I go. How do you like it? Show me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if one of you are at work and one of you are at home, I say the person at home, you just tease that person all day long. Okay, I'm going exploring. Oh, this is what I found. Report give them, I don't want to say a play by play, but
Yeah.
get them excited. You might have a little fun when they get home.
So, sex doesn't have to be linear, it doesn't have to be performative. And it sure as hell doesn't have to be all about his orgasm. Your pleasure matters. Your body deserves options. And of course, many orgasms.
And for all the women listening who thought that they were broken because they didn't love penetration, you're not broken. You're not broken. You just haven't been given the full menu, right? The buffet is so important and you get to choose all the things.
Absolutely. So give yourself permission to redefine your intimacy, pleasure, and connection. Start today.
So, if there's one thing to take away from this episode, it's that your pleasure is not limited by old definitions. Sex can be whatever makes you feel connected, desired, and alive. Thanks for pulling up a chair at our unapologetic brunch table today. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It's like tipping your server, but for podcasts. And hey, sign up for our weekly newsletter using the link in the show notes so you never miss the juiciest, most unfiltered chats we're serving up. Remember, brunch isn't just about the mimosas, it's about the authentic connection and keeping it unapologetically real. Until next time, let's keep the brunch vibes alive and the conversation flowing.